Okay, so number 5. Okay, Kezia, I think you're a little bit behind, so we'll move on to number 5. So recover was the answer for the last question. So after traveling to a country with many cases of coronavirus, you should for a period of time. So many of us are doing this at the moment, even if we don't have the virus or don't have any symptoms. So this is a word that means like staying inside a particular place or building or accommodation. You should quarantine, okay? Is Hajin right? Let's see what everyone else says. Isolate, quarantine, be isolated, avoid. So Irene, after avoid, we must put an object, like you should avoid people for a period of time. So you can say you should be isolated. Usually, so we need to use a verb here, so we can't say isolation. So we can use the verb you should be isolated for a period of time. You should stay at home, very good. You should quarantine. Often we also say self-quarantine. So usually if you are quarantined, it gives the image that someone has forced you to do it. So for example, if we travel overseas, we often have to quarantine our pets. Now, if we're traveling with a dog, so we have to put them in a quarantine unit for a while. We don't have a choice. But no one is actually coming to our house and making us stay inside. So usually we say self-quarantine. So you can say quarantine, but self-quarantine just emphasizes that you're not being forced in any way. So you can use either. So we, that's be isolated, self-quarantine. Sentence there, we must use a verb. So you can say we should isolate ourselves, or we should be isolated, or we should self-quarantine. Okay, so sleep like a sleeping princess of a forest. Wow, that is very romantic. Okay, yeah, that's another option. Okay, so great. On to number 6. Okay, people who have already had coronavirus. So if you have already been infected with it, you will become more to it. So this is a word that means you'll be protected from it. So you will become more to it. So this is an adjective that means protected. So Helen, prone means if you're more prone, it means you're more likely to get it. But if you have already had it, you're actually less likely to get it. Eat, not eat apple. Okay, immune, very good. Okay, so immune is, you've probably heard of your immune system, which is the part of your body that fights illnesses. So if you are immune to it, usually we say immune +2. So if you're immune to it, you are protected or unable to be affected. So we usually use this term in terms of medicine, but you can also use it, sometimes it's used in like politics. For example, the president of the USA is immune to being imprisoned. So while you are president in the USA, you cannot go to prison. You're like protected. So we can also use immune in that way, but the most common way it's used is when we are talking about illness. And just pointing out there again that we always use the preposition. He is immune to the disease. So if you have had it once, then you are less likely to get it in the future. Yeah. Okay, so our next one. But they can be impeached. Yeah, I think that is true, Helen, from my understanding. Yeah, they can be impeached. I think that's the only way of avoiding going to prison. Okay, the next one, or sorry, avoiding. Next one, several countries worldwide are on meaning citizens cannot make non-essential movements. So in Korea, most people are like self-isolating or self-quarantining, but we're not being forced by the government in any way. But in countries like Italy, Spain, France, a lot of countries in Europe in particular, the government are actually patrolling the streets. So they're sending policemen or military or police officers. Okay, so what is this term called? The countries are on Okay, so Helen says lockdown, they are on prohibition, they are on Apple stay home. So we must have a noun here. They are on. So Joseph, we wouldn't really say they are on prohibition. We can say people are prohibited from leaving their houses. Oh, good. Okay, so did you check online, Joseph? We can say they are on lockdown. Very good. So the actual original meaning of lockdown is a little bit different. So the original meaning of lockdown is when prisoners try to escape from a jail and the prison guards get suspicious in some way. Maybe they want to keep all the prisoners inside. They can't leave their cells. So that's the original meaning of lockdown. The prison is on lockdown. So now it's been extended to also relate to this kind of situation where people can't leave their houses freely. Shutdown, Joy, I think usually we say lockdown. You can say shutdown refers more to like the stores closing, cinemas closing, but lockdown is that kind of process of being forced to stay in your house. So a lot of countries are in lockdown at the moment. I know that in France, if they want to leave their house, they have to bring like documents and identification, and it's quite a long process. Okay, so lockdown was the answer for that one. So we have 3 more vocab sentences. So this one is a very commonly used term. So I think you guys will know the answer for this. In Korea and many other countries, the start of the school semester has been. So here we have a passive sentence. So we need to have a PP, a past participle here. Postpone. So we can say the start of the school semester has been closed, Apple. We would say schools have been closed. Okay, very good. So we can use postponed or delayed here. Okay, so hi, Erin. Unfortunately, we can't say the start of the school has been closed. We would say the start of the school has been, okay, there's a good phrasal verb. So we can say put off, postponed, or we can also say delayed. Okay, so usually when we're reading about it, put off is a phrasal verb, so it's less formal. So you'll probably not see this in newspapers, for example. You'll say delayed, postponed. And Joy, again, you can say schools have been closed, but you can't say the start of the school semester has been closed. So just kind of paying attention to the context of the sentence there. So I know that in the UK, even the end of semester exams that determine which university you will go to have been totally cancelled. So I don't know what they're going to do in this situation. Okay, so just 2 more sentences. So pushed back, very good. You can also say pushed back. So just using the ED there because it's the PP. Okay. So 2 more sentences. Yes, Apple, 2 more. So number 9. This one relates to Korea. This is quite a unique situation in Korea. Adjourned is usually only used in terms of law, like in the courtroom. So we would say court has been adjourned, like finished for the day, but we wouldn't use this in terms of schools. So in Korea, there's a shortage of masks, so they are being by the government. So there are not enough masks to freely sell in every store. So the government are now controlling the sale of masks. You can say controlled. Hoarded, so hoarded, Myung-so, means the government are keeping them all. They're not allowing us to have any. Supplied by the government. So I'm looking here for a word beginning with R. It's used a lot in times of war, and it means that the government are trying to control how many are sold or how many people can buy. So often in World War II, for example, governments had to do this with food so that not everyone would hoard it. They gave it out, they distributed it between people. I'm actually kind of happy that no one has gotten the answer yet. This is good. So the first letter that I'm looking for is R. Redistributed, yeah, you can say distributed, but this term is a little bit stronger. Okay, I'm going to give you it. This one is rationed. So ration means restricted, yeah, these are good terms, but the term that we usually use is ration. So ration means when it's like a specific government kind of term, when the government control the amount of something that people can access or buy. So you can say they are being restricted, they are being redistributed, but rationed is the best verb here because it's kind of a specific term that we use in this situation. Contributed. They are being contributed, yeah, but I'm aiming more for the word here that means like control, the amount is controlled. So they are being rationed by the government. Okay, so again, we have a passive verb there. So I'm going to give you guys a little trivia question again. So in Korea, based on your year of birth, you are given a particular day to go and get your masks from the pharmacy. So my day for getting masks is Wednesday. So I want you guys to guess what year I was born. A lot of pressure. I might be a little bit annoyed if some of you guess I am older than I really am. So what year was I born? Based on the fact that I go to get my masks on a Wednesday from the pharmacy. Oh, there's silence. 1983, Joseph. Oh, I'm gonna cry. I shouldn't have asked this. Apple 1996, you're my favorite. 83, oh my gosh, I'm going to get Botox after this video. 93, okay, I love some of you. Gishik, you're the best. 2003, nobody guessed the right one. 89, Hanal is closest. So we'll give you guys 5 more seconds. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you learned a new word. I can't see your name because your username is so long. Oh, Mignon is the winner. So 88 is my birth year. So now some of you I love and some of you I am not so fond of. I'm just kidding. So so mine is 1988, so I go on a Wednesday. So a useful expression that we are using at the moment is that masks are like gold dust. So a lot of foreigners are saying this at the moment. So if something is like gold dust, it is so difficult to get. So at the moment, like it seems like if someone gives you a mask, this is the ultimate gift. This is like the biggest show of affection. So masks are like gold dust at the moment. Okay, and our final vocab sentence is, there are a few different answers for this one. So in the West, luckily this isn't happening in Korea, but in the West, people are items like toilet roll and canned food. So food that lasts for a long time and toilet roll, people are, so I don't know why people are going crazy about toilet roll, but this is happening in the West in countries like the UK. Okay, we have one good answer. Very good, Helen. So let's see what other answers people come up with. So there are a few different ones that you can, that are appropriate here. So hoarding is one good one. Buy, so a little bit more extreme than buy, Apple. Panic buying, very good. So Jenny, you can't say people are, oh, you can say people are being sold items, but people are always sold these items. People are gathered items. You can say people are gathering, Irene. So you can say people are gathering. So we have the present continuous tense here, people are gathering. Panic buying is very good. So because we have are here, we must put ing. Piling, Youngso, we don't really say piling in this situation. You could say piling up, but it would sound a little bit unnatural. But yeah, you've got the meaning correct there. Buying and saving. So I've seen a couple of good answers here. So a really good one is panic buying. So if you panic buy something, it means you buy a lot of something because of a fear that it's going to run out. So I guess in Korea, most people were panic buying masks, but in the West, people are panic buying things like toilet roll. Binge shopping. Binge shopping is usually more for your enjoyment, hey Jane. So if you binge on something, usually it's more for your enjoyment, not out of necessity. So people are buying it because they feel it's necessary. So they're panic buying. Who's one of the first answers there? Who said hoarding? So Helen said hoarding, which is great. So hoarding is another one. Hi, Helen, by the way. Collecting and keeping a large amount of something. So you can also say hoarding. There's actually a very famous show in the US called Extreme Hoarders. So this is when people like keep a lot of something. So hoarders. Accumulating, you can also say accumulating. And another one that you could also say is stocking up on. Stocking up on. So stocking up on is, yeah, buying. Helen, you love that show? I love this show too, Extreme Hoarders. It's like a reality show. Stocking up on is buying a large amount of something so that you have more in the future. So there are a few different ones you can use there. You could say buying, but we want to show that it's extreme. It's not normal buying to buy like all this toilet roll. So they are hoarding, they are stocking up on, very good. And you can also say they are panic buying. Okay, great. So I'm just going to give you guys a couple of discussion questions. If you have any questions about the vocab, just ask me quickly now and I'll be happy to answer them. Then we're going to move on to a discussion, and we are also going to be learning some expressions for giving advice. So Koreans are not panic buying, but some Westerners are doing that. What's the difference? So I'm not sure I fully understand the question there. I think if you're asking the reason that Westerners are panic buying, I think the reason is because many Westerners haven't experienced this kind of like disease before or in such a large scale. So they don't know how to deal with it. And they think that this is kind of the logical thing to do. So I hope that answers your question.